Teaching jab cross. So jab cross, left to right for my orthodox people, right left for my southpaw people. Always with anything, we want our students to do it as fast as possible. Are there a lot of details you can give someone when it comes to jab cross? Yes, of course. But if you throw too much at them, it's going to be too much. Students, many times when they train with us, they are intimidated before they even walk in the door. Not everyone, but a lot of people are. So the fact they made it in is great. Let's not overload them because it's already a lot going on, especially for their first class. Group classes, we always start them the same way, our Krav Maga classes. We usually have a very quick warm-up, either shadow boxing or running, and then we do basically guided shadow boxing together as a class. And we always start with jab cross. So we have everyone spread out facing forward, get in their stance, and the instructor, we call it out. So we say up, and we do it all together 10 times. When we have a new student coming into the class, it is very important that you do not sacrifice the energy of the class for that new student. Now, of course, you can take a little bit of time to show them their stance and tell them left, right. That's basically what I tell them. This part of our class, this warm-up, is very, very important. Not only for technique and to get our students those reps that they need, but also for the energy of the class. This helps bring the class together. So if I am explaining 10 different teaching points for everything we do, it's going to be so choppy. All the students are going to be annoyed because they do this every class, and it's not going to work. I like to let the class kind of bring that person up with them. I like to let the class kind of teach that person. So sometimes I will put a more advanced student next to them or right in front of them, and I tell them, if you need any help, you can ask so-and-so. Or if you need to see how to do it, look at so-and-so. All right, that way they have an example right by them that they can base off of. But in the beginning, I have them in their stance, left leg forward for my right-handed people, left leg forward, good, hands up. All right, so we're gonna start with jab cross, so it's gonna be left, right. You're just gonna punch out and come in. That's it. That is all I give them in the beginning. In the beginning, again, if they're punching with the right hand, that's a victory. Now, can you give them more details? Of course. Do you want to correct them? Yes, but usually in the beginning of class, we want to get them going. We want to get them punching. Now, maybe it's later on in the class and we're punching pads. Now I'm going to go a little more into the weeds with them to start perfecting their technique. So, important things. Fists. Make sure they are hitting with the top 2 knuckles. Now, if we're wearing gloves, sometimes it's hard to tell, but sometimes you can tell if someone is kind of pawing at the pads, so make sure to go over that with them. I've noticed that sometimes when I try to explain a lot to them and then I see them punch, that they're doing everything I explained, they do it fine, but there's this list of other things that they need help with. So I like to just give them a little bit, see how they punch, and then that will influence what I'm going to give them next. All right, so fists, very important, keeping it tight, punching with those top 2 knuckles. Bringing the hands back to the face instead of coming down. That's always a big one. So I'll tell them, after you punch, bring those hands back to your face. Now, a huge thing, my pet peeve when I see people not doing this, it drives me crazy, is breathing. We need to breathe. 9.9% of the time, I'll make a joke of it with the person. I'll tell them, you need to breathe. And then I'll tell them, I know you're breathing because you're not dead, but you need to exhale every time you punch. A lot of times it will take them a while to actually do it because they feel silly. Now make sure their pad holder, if someone's holding pads for them, make sure they're breathing as well because they can kind of pick up the person and match their breathing, and they should be breathing anyway. Usually with the breathing, if someone is not breathing, I don't give them any other corrections until they start doing that, because that is the most basic thing to breathe. Now, when people give me, why, or they look like they don't want to do it, which happens a lot, I'll tell them it's going to make your body more efficient, it's going to help you last longer in a round, it's going to make your punches more powerful. All right, those are some points you can give them. Another thing I see a lot is people too close to their target, so their punches are very crunched. Make sure, I like to tell people that this is a long range weapon, so you want to make it as long as possible. Sometimes, yes, it will be a little crunched, but when we're practicing in a perfect scenario, have it be nice and long. Make sure that they're not starting square, they're starting bladed, always, and their stance is nice and big. You don't want a too shallow stance. The last thing would be turning their hips and their shoulders, and that back foot, rotating that all the way over. Usually, a lot of people will just punch with their arms here, and that's natural. So I'll tell them to focus on turning your body more. Sometimes I'll say turn your shoulders. Usually I say shoulders over hips because it's a little bit easier. I don't know, in my mind it's easier to think about turning my shoulders and their hips will typically follow. But again, it really depends on the person. It's different for everyone. These are just some of the teaching points that I am looking out for. And again, in the beginning, the goal is to get them punching as soon as possible. You have them have the, get the right hands, left, right. For my right-handed people, done, good. Start going. Make sure they're safe and go. All right, that's the goal, to get them punching as soon as possible. And then from there, you see how they are, assess, and then you can give them more pointers. At one time, you don't want to give someone more than 3 pointers. Even 3 is a lot. Usually at one time, I'll give them 1 to 2. I'll tell them, okay, make sure you're breathing now. Okay, maybe the next time I come around. All right, now try to turn those shoulders a little more. But I'm not gonna say, okay, you need to breathe, turn your shoulders, turn that back heel, bring your hands to your face, because that is too much for people to think about. Sometimes just doing left, right is too much for them to think about. We've all seen it where you can see they're just overthinking way too much and their brain is on overdrive. Relax, you don't need to give them everything at once. They're not going to be able to correct everything at once. That's why they're a student. That's why we have them. Last thing in regards to the turning, something I like to tell people, because when it was told to me, it really resonated with me. I forgot who said this. I'm gonna look it up. But he said the best cross is thrown with the left shoulder. Meaning when you're throwing that cross, you're ripping that shoulder back. So I tell that to a lot of people, rip that shoulder back, and it improves their cross so much, their turn, their range, even power. It's beautiful. That's how you teach jab cross to your students.